Jeff, I'll kick it over to you.
All right, thank you so much. Well, everyone, welcome to our December 1st Wednesday at 1 webinar for PAYS. We really appreciate you joining us. We're real excited for today's topic. As you're aware, based on the information that went out, this topic is going to be covering the, hold on, sorry, had a phone call coming in. This topic is going to be covering the special report with early data and the impact of the pandemic on our kids and their families. When we began planning for the 2021 PAYS administration late last year, we're obviously in the middle of COVID-19, and in discussions with our partners at PDE, we decided that we really wanted to see what was the impact during the last 18 months on our kids. So we added questions around COVID-19, around remote learning, as well as some other early data that we believe would be of great interest to our schools and our community partners. So today's presentation will be led by Mary Johnston, the Director of Survey Services, sorry about that, at Bach Harrison, our survey vendor, and Dr. Dana Milakovic from the Department of Education, who wants to be referred to as Dr. Dana, apparently. Then you will also have some other folks on the Q&A side of things. Myself, Jeff Colchin, I'm with the Pennsylvania Commission on Crime and Delinquency. I am the project leader for PAYS and have been for the last about decade or so. Dr. Rose Baker, our principal investigator that oversees the survey validity and making sure that everything is done with best practices of survey in mind. Sophia, you met already. She is our meeting and training support assistant at EPIS. We couldn't do this without her, so much thanks to her. Kelsey Kraft, the project coordinator at Bach Harrison, who heads up the Pennsylvania Youth Survey for them. And then Phyllis Law, our systems change specialist at EPIS, who unfortunately is not able to speak very well today, but will be here to help us answer questions. So I mentioned our two presenters. I'm going to turn it over to Mary to kick us off.
Thank you, everybody. Mary Johnston. I am the project manager for the Pennsylvania Youth Survey. I have been lucky to be working with the PAYS project since 2013 when Bach Harrison took it over as vendor. And it has been, let me just take a quick moment to say, it's just been a real honor to work with the state. It's amazing to work with so many people that are so passionate about data-driven prevention work. And it's just been really powerful to see how we've grown the survey and how we've grown data use over the past or at least the past years in which I've been involved. So thank you for allowing me to be a part of that. We're going to give you just a really big picture highlights of the report that will be released this afternoon. So today, if you're a superintendent or an authorized data user, a survey coordinator, you will be getting a link to the report I will be showing you today. I want to just take a couple minutes to talk about the purpose and goals, like why in the heck we decided to do a preliminary highlights report this year, go quickly over the report content, and then also give you some guidance in terms of data interpretation, things you should keep in mind. And then I'm going to kick it over to Dr. Milakovic so that she can talk about data use and application. All right, Sophia, next slide. Okay, so why did we decide to send out some preliminary data early? It all boils down to wanting to provide districts with more data access options. So a little bit of feedback we've gotten from districts in the past has been, why can't we get our data earlier than April? How can we get data in maybe a different format than the profile report? And we really listened to that, and we really came up with some great options this year to diversify how we're sending out the data and to provide people with more options. So one of the main reasons why, or our main goals, was just to give districts some access to their data sooner than April 30th. So if you are a veteran to the PAYS project, you know that April 30th is kind of our big, it's like Christmas for PAYS. This is when everybody gets their profile reports that you've worked so hard to collect the data for. So we decided to bump that up early. This is like the early Christmas Eve. You get like a little bit of a snapshot, some highlights from your PAYS project for your specific district. And we'll also be creating these by county and then also for the state. So we're excited to release some data sooner than April 30th. However, just know that April 30th, still put it in your calendar. That's still the date in which you will get your profile reports. We also wanted, in coming up with sort of our lineup for the reports, we wanted to essentially, we didn't want to overburden you or kind of overwhelm you with data. So we did our best to pick and select questions from the survey that would allow districts to act in the same year, school year as a survey administration. So we focused on substance use data, mental health data, school climate and safety data, COVID-19 impacts data, and remote learning data. So we're hoping that these data can help schools to act in this school year. And Dr. Dana will be guiding you through that. And then ultimately, because our paper survey doesn't include the COVID-19 impacts and remote learning items, not everybody in the state is getting those questions. So this preliminary highlights or special report is also our main vehicle for releasing these specific items to the districts that participated in the online survey. Okay, Sophia, I am going to go ahead and shift over to the report. I think you're going to have to give me access to that. Thank you. So let me just show you this report. Okay, so this, let me shift those over here. This is the report itself. This is our highlights, our preliminary highlights report. Some of us are calling it the special report. We're calling it all kinds of things, but I think we figure out how to exactly brand this, but just know that this is the one sort of early data report. Let me go over just really quickly how this is going to be rolled out. So superintendents, first and foremost, are going to get a web link just like this, along with a very simple password. So for the password for this link, for example, was sample. So everybody will get a password protected web link. Superintendents will get theirs first. Superintendents are also going to get a list of email addresses for all of the individuals that were authorized to get these data through their agreement form. So when districts signed on for the survey, we asked superintendents, can your survey coordinator get a copy? Who else would you like to be authorized as a data user? And so they will be just kind of a heads up, these are the people you authorized. After that, we will send out a second email to survey coordinators. So you will get the same link that your superintendent did. And then following that, if you are an additional authorized data user, you will get your link through a separate password as well. So there's just a simple login. I'm going to give you a really quick overview, and then we will kind of drill down more specifically. So you'll notice the district in which you are looking at their data is going to be in the headline or the title. We have some very important notes to consider before jumping in, and I'll be going through those more slowly later. We do have some hyperlinks that will allow you to quickly jump forward and back from the menu to the section itself. You can use those, but in general, we designed this report to be pretty brief. So I don't know if those are exactly necessary. Maybe if you just can't contain your excitement for one section, you could just jump right there. We have a participation section, which is really important in terms of letting you know kind of what you're looking at and what these data represent. So those are important. Our substance use section focuses on lifetime alcohol use, which is a measurement of experimental use, lifetime marijuana use, which is a measure, again, of experimental marijuana use, lifetime prescription pain reliever use, lifetime cigarette use, and then past month e-cigarette vape device use. So if you've been paying attention, you'll notice this one's a little bit different. So when we talk about data interpretation and analysis, I'll be diving in and I'll tell you a little bit more about why this is kind of the oddball, like why we're talking about past 30-day use instead of lifetime use for this substance. When it comes to mental health concerns and suicide risk, we've got data for serious depression in the past year, serious considerations of suicide in the past year, suicide planning in the past year. So not just thinking about suicide, making a plan, one or more attempts of suicide in the past year. For school climate and safety, our goal was to give schools data, again, that would hopefully be actionable this school year. So we have data for past year experiences of cyberbullying, past year being bullied at school, perceptions of school safety, opportunities for one-on-one time with teachers, class involvement, positive feedback from teachers. When it comes to abuse and food scarcity, we ask students, if you were hurt or abused by another person in the past 12 months, how were you hurt or abused? This is a good example of a question that is of a subset. So these are data that are reported of those indicating having been abused in the past year. So these are allow us to kind of look specifically at the experience of students who are abused. And we'll kind of talk about more about interpreting questions like this a little bit differently from others. We'll talk about that more after this, just really quick highlight. We have a question on food insecurity, a worry about running food, food scarcity, having to skip a meal due to not having enough money to buy food. And when it comes to COVID-19 impacts, we worked really hard as a group. Everyone chipped into crafting this question, and our goal for this question was to just really gather a good snapshot of the impacts, both positive and negative, that students experienced during the COVID-19 pandemic. And so the data for this Mark All That Apply question are reported next. And then finally, we report data from our remote learning perceptions and experiences question. And these are also of students reporting any remote learning in the 2020-2021 school year. So this one is a little bit interesting, and we'll take a good chunk of time to kind of talk about how you might interpret or look at these data differently. These are of students who reported remote learning in that past school year. So if a student was learning in school all year, they actually didn't even get these questions. So when we go back more slowly through all of these, we'll kind of look at how you might interpret these and for your particular school district. But in general, we have data on, did the student miss learning with other students? Did they miss learning with teachers? Did they understand teacher instructions when learning online? Were they able to stay focused? Did their learning actually improve online? And we worked really hard when it comes to these impact questions to, again, ask about the positive and negative. We know that some students actually had positive experiences during the pandemic, and it was really important to capture all of the experiences, whatever they might be. Did students have a quiet space for online learning? How did students feel about the learning platform that their school used? Did students have adequate internet access? And then did they have an electronic device to use? So I'm hoping you're really excited right now to see all of this data for your particular district. We worked really hard on kind of crafting this, what we hoped was like a thoughtful and helpful set of questions. So with all of that said, now let me dive in a little bit more specifically about what you're looking at. So these would kind of be our sort of like a little cheat sheet in terms of what you're looking at. Hopefully this would allow you, of those who took the time to attend today, to kind of zip through your report a little bit more quickly than if you were looking at it from fresh eyes. So let's start with the notes to consider. And of course we put these because these are actually very important. So let's go through each of these because these will definitely 100% help you to understand what you're looking at right now and how that differs from what you will get on April 30th when you get your profile report. So the first thing to note is this report shares data from the 2021 PAYS only. So this really is a 2021 preliminary data highlights report for this year's survey. So we can only show 1 year of data. And 2021 will be the focus. So your report that you'll get on April 30th will contain, as usual, 3 years of data. You'll have data from 2017, 2019, and 2021. So you'll kind of be able to see kind of a pre-pandemic. I always hope to say post-pandemic, but we're not quite done yet. But you'll kind of be able to look at those 3 years of data to sort of see how your trends are looking. But right now we're just focused on 1 year. So if you want to do any type of trend analysis on your own, you'll have to dig up those old reports. But just know when you get your profile report, you will be able to do that there. When it comes to creating this report, something that we really wanted to do was to mimic as closely as possible all of the protocols that we use when it comes to creating your profile reports in terms of weeding out dishonest and invalid surveys, making sure that we're keeping the same suppression rules, all of that. So we worked into the programming of the reports here, the same validity checks that we use when it comes to creating your profile reports. And then we also use the same suppression rules. So if you might recall for the profile report, we need to have a minimum of 25 honest, valid surveys at the grade level to report data for that grade. So the same goes here. Not only have we implemented the same validity checks to weed out dishonest participants, but if you don't have a minimum of 25 honest participants participating, you will actually not see any data for that. So you might see missing data, and that could be one of the reasons. Another thing to note is that we're calling these preliminary results for a reason. So until things are 100% official, until we close the survey down, pull all the data, and then do all of our work in SPSS, we just need to kind of put out the caveat that your data could be slightly, I'm hoping there's no difference between what you're seeing here in your profile report, but we just do need to caution that these are preliminary data. These are not final. Your profile report will be what we consider to be your final data. Something I've hinted at before, which is very important. Most items in the report display data of all students by grade. So for example, lifetime use displays data for all students, did they use in their lifetime or not? And then some data like our abuse data, our remote learning data, they focus on a subset of students. So, so some data are reported of a subgroup of respondents based on how they responded to a previous question or based on how they responded to the question. And we worked as hard as we could in the language of the survey to communicate this. So as long as you're kind of taking it slow and looking through the report, reading all the headings and kind of seeing what you're looking at, we're hopeful that this will be clear. The next thing to note is these data are reported at the grade level. So if you are a fan of our profile reports, you know that we typically report data at the individual grade level and then for all grades combined, which could be considered like a middle school, high school average. For this preliminary report, it had to be one or the other. And since grade level prevention planning is kind of the gold standard, we decided to present the data at the grade level. Just know that for your profile reports, you will still have that all grades combined for your trend analysis work. The next thing to note is if you have a chart that is missing a bar, or maybe honestly shows 100% of a certain response, it just means that 0 students, absolutely no students, marked what's missing. So it's not an error in your report if you see something missing. It's missing because no students marked that activity or that perception. The next is related to the way that you view the report. And in hindsight, perhaps I should have started with this. But in general, note that when we built the survey's text is actually set at 14 point font. However, it's a pretty smart report. It's going to default to whatever your default web browser settings are. So to change this, to make the font bigger or smaller based on your preferences, you just simply need to follow these directions. Hold down the control key and either press the plus or the minus. And you can see actually this is sort of my default web browser setting, and it's actually really very small. I don't know why I watch things this small, but we will view this at 125%. I think that's a good happy balance. But just know that if it's too small, you just need to hold down the control and the plus key to make it bigger. Okay, so, and then, finally, most importantly, I think, if you need any help with this data or knowing what you should be doing with this, you have a lot of local help. So please contact one of your local county drug or alcohol office individuals, somebody from the epicenter. There are loads of people that want to help you with this data and to help make the most of it. Okay, so let's dive in more specifically to each of these sections. When it comes to participation, I have witnessed over my 20 years in this business, so many people opening their report. And oftentimes the inclination is to go straight to the beautiful charts, right? To go straight to the data that you've been anticipating. And we just ask everybody to slow down. Best practice is to start and understand your participation. It's a general rule of thumb, because if you don't understand who participated, you don't really know what you're looking at, right? So we included some key information in our participation section. First of all, we tell you when the data collection ended. And this could be after the survey was administered. This is ultimately when the district told us, okay, we're done. You can close all of our links. We're throwing in the towel. It's finalized. The next important thing is to study the schools participating and represented in this report. This is particularly important for districts that have chosen a hybrid administration, where maybe some of your schools are doing the survey in paper and some are doing online. This report does not include paper survey data. We would have had to hand code it into the online survey. It was just sort of logistically impossible. So for hybrid districts in particular, it's important to study, okay, which schools are represented in the data that you're looking at, and understand when your final full profile reports come out is when you'll see all of your data together. Next, taking into account the enrollment information that we have. Now, this is, as a caveat, this is from the Department of Education. This is 1 year old. So these are not going to be exact. These are not going to, I guess they could be, but chances are they're not going to exactly identify or mimic your enrollment this year. But just know that this is what we're working with as a starting point. And then we provide the number of respondents by grade. So the goal here is to help you to kind of take a look at, okay, how great was our participation versus our enrollment? A general rule of thumb is we're always hoping to get a census, but it's not really realistic all the time. So a general rule of thumb we follow at Bach Harrison is if you get like 60%, that's actually a pretty solid representation at the grade level. If it's lower than 60%, perhaps you want to take a step back and say, okay, maybe these data are representative of the kids that took the survey. But ultimately, just kind of being able to see your participation versus your enrollment is just really helpful to kind of know exactly what you're looking at. All right, so let's move on to the data itself. For substance use, we start off again, each section starts off with some key notes that might be important. In general, for substance use, the big thing to note is that we do report lifetime or experimental use for alcohol, marijuana, cigarettes, prescription narcotics, and then we report 30-day use for vaping or e-cigarettes. And then when we get to the 30-day use question for vaping, I'll talk about why. It's important to note here that the PAYS asks 32 substance use questions. So we have a lot of data that covers lifetime use, past 30-day use, heavy use. All of that data will show up in your profile report. So right now we are really just giving you a snapshot. So lifetime alcohol use, each of these subsections will start with a full question, so you can get a sense of exactly what we ask students. We will always mention, okay, these data are of all students, or we will specify, okay, these data are of a subgroup, and we'll tell you who that is. And we like to put a lot of reminders about that amazing April 30th profile that you'll be getting. So when it comes to looking at these, we do have some text here that kind of walks you through it if you're just kind of looking at it, especially maybe if you decide to print it. But in general, there's a hover tool that allows you to kind of hover over this bar and say, okay, for this sampling, and this is just a randomly sampled group of schools that doesn't belong to any district. For this sampling, there were, 85.4% of sixth graders indicated that they've used alcohol 0 times in their lifetime. And you can kind of see that indicator, sort of the hovers here when you move over it. And then we also included the numbers. So this means 252 students. Oftentimes the number can help you to kind of put perspective on what you're looking at. And that's just kind of another interpretation tool that we hope you use in your favor. So 85.4% said 0 times, and then the other rolls up 1 or more uses. So 14.6% of sixth graders indicated 1 or more uses in the past 30 days. And this hover tool will help you regardless of what you're looking at. So for example, lifetime marijuana use, for this grouping of schools, 99% of sixth graders said 0 times, and then 1% or 3 students said 1 or more times. So again, for lifetime use, those are more of a measure of experimentation if a student used any time in their past time. Interesting, in other states, when it comes to surveying this pandemic year, other states have shown a slight increase in lifetime or experimental use, but have shown either steady or honestly sometimes even decreasing use for 30-day substances. So we encourage you to get curious about your data this year. We're anticipating you're going to find some things that surprise you and things that might kind of fit some of your theories or your hypotheses. But we're asking everybody to approach this year's data with just a lot of curiosity. It's going to be fun. Lifetime cigarette use, we ask these questions, our tobacco questions, a little bit differently. So for these, if you hover over, you'll see that we ask this isn't zero uses. This is students who reported never using cigarettes in their lifetime. And then we actually have additional categories, which you can see better for 12th graders in terms of students using once or twice, once in a while, but not regularly, regularly now, and then of course, the never. So past 30-day, this is the only instance in the substance abuse section in which we have past 30-day use. And the reason for that, I wish we could have had lifetime data here just for consistency's sake, so we didn't confuse you. But we actually do not have a lifetime 30-day vaping use question on the survey. And I think that kind of surprised us all. So we do report this for past 30-day use. It's more of a measure of current use or regular use. And so these data are just from the past 30 days, which is a more immediate use, which is honestly oftentimes just incredibly helpful. It's just sort of just making note of kind of that difference between experimentation versus regular use when you're interpreting. All right, when it comes to mental health concerns and suicide risk, most of these questions are yes, no. So we asked students during the past 12 months, did you ever feel so sad or hopeless every day for 2 weeks or more in a row that you stopped doing some usual activities? These are broken down again, if you hover over it, a simple no or a yes. So most of these items are just very simply yes or no. The same goes for serious considerations of suicide. These are broken down into just as yes, no. Suicide plan is also yes, no question. And when it comes to attempted suicide, these are one or more attempts. So we have a 0 times versus a 1 or more times. And the main difference is how we framed this question. How many times did you actually attempt suicide in the past year? For school climate and safety, many of these follow just kind of a different format in terms of how we ask the survey. And so we ask you to kind of, again, slow down and take a look at the description to see, okay, what am I looking at? If you decide not to read the description, then again, if you hover over it, it should explain it. But in terms of experiencing cyberbullying in the past year, the dark blue are students who reported big no or little no. So kind of like a definitely no and kind of like, no, not really. Versus big yes or little yes, which is a definite yes. And then also a, yeah, kind of like a, yeah, somewhat yes. Same goes for bullying in the past year, except for here, we ask students, please state whether you have been bullied in the past 12 months. And these compare students who said any instance of yes. So this could be yes, very rarely, yes, now and then, yes, several times a month, yes, several times per week, or yes, almost daily, versus any that said just flat out no. Perception of safety, these are students' responses to our statement, I feel safe at my school. And this could be either, again, big yes, little yes versus little no, big no. And then the remaining items in this question follow that same precedent. So in terms of, there are lots of chances for students in my school to talk one-on-one with a teacher. We have big yes, big no, little no. I have lots of chances to be a part of class discussions and activities. We have big yes, little no, big no. My teachers praise me when I work hard at school. We have a big yes, and a big no, little no. I want to slow down a little bit now when it comes to looking at our next few items, which do kind of include a little bit, kind of challenge you. So this is kind of where we take things to a different level. We have some different data presentations. There are different things to keep in mind. So let's start with types of abuse. So we asked students, if you were hurt or abused by another person in the past 12 months, how were you hurt or abused? Mark all that apply. So it's important to know that these are data of students who have been abused in the past year. This is not all students. So we're not looking at, 67% of all of your 12th graders have been emotionally insulted. We're looking at 67% of your 12th graders who have been abused in the past year. So we're looking at a subgroup of students. This allows us to really specifically hone in on the kids who are in need in terms of being abused and is exactly understand their specific experience. So anytime you see anything in parentheses of those, just know this is of a subgroup, and the description down below will help you to kind of interpret those. So too, likewise, you will notice when you hover over these, you'll get the same call outs in terms of telling you what you're looking at. So for example, here we've got 59.2% of sixth graders who were abused in the past year have been received emotional abuse, insults, or name calling. But you can also see the number of this. And actually, if I have to keep it there, we're only looking at 45 students. So within this district, of the students, sixth grade students who had been abused in the past year, 45 of those students, which happens to be 59.2%, indicated this type of abuse. Also note, these are not going to add up to 100%. So if you were to get, your calculator out or spreadsheet and add up all of these sixth grade items, you will find these are going to be over 100% because students can mark all that apply. So any type of abuse, students who experience multiple, and those data are going to be reflected here. Things get a little bit more simple for the next couple of questions. We asked students, how many times have you worried that food at home would run out before your family got money to buy more? Here we just have a simple never versus one or more times. The same goes with have you had to skip a meal because your family didn't have enough money to buy food? Again, here we have a simple never versus one or more times. When it comes to COVID-19 impacts, we presented students with this statement. COVID-19 has impacted our lives in different ways. These questions ask about your COVID-19 related experiences. Select all of the following you experienced during the COVID-19 pandemic. So first note is most of the questions on the survey are really limited by timeline. We are very specific with students. We ask about, okay, what did you experience in the past year, the past 2 weeks, the past 30 days? And this really pushes them to say, okay, from the beginning of the pandemic or during the pandemic at any time, what were your experiences? Which honestly, I personally feel is very powerful. As a group, we kind of debated with, well, should we say, pandemic experiences in the past year? Well, no, then you would completely miss out on just the amazing or the tremendous jolt in everything that happened in March of 2020 or April of 2020. So really this does include students' experiences across the pandemic. And we really wanted to, we very thoughtfully created questions that we hoped would help us to capture positive experiences, negative experiences, and specifically the types of school experiences that would, or experiences that would allow schools to really understand how they could meet the needs of their kids right now. So students could report, I or someone in my family was sick, a family member or friend close to me died, one or more people living in my home lost their job. I felt more anxious, nervous, worried, or angry than usual. We wanted kind of a measurement of just sort of what was extraordinary for this time. Likewise, did they feel more relaxed, comfortable, or rested than usual? People in my home were fighting a lot more than usual. My family ate more meals together than usual. My family shared more quality time together than usual. I learned a new hobby or skill. I played more online games than others, none of these. And these data are really fascinating to cross tab out later. So just kind of a little plug for the online web tool, but you're gonna have a lot of fun cross tabbing these individual items with many other things. So in terms of looking at these, again, these are of all students. So we gave students the option to mark none of these. So this does include every single student, whether they had an impact or not. Again, this was mark all that applies. So if you add these up, you're not going to get 100%. You're going to get 100 plus. And again, we're just kind of presenting everything by grade in this order. Honestly, we tried to kind of group together some of the more positive activities versus some of the more negative activities. And students, another note is students who marked none of these, it's not necessarily because they had no impacts, it's because they had none of the impacts that we listed. So that's kind of your rule of thumb for interpreting those. When it comes to remote learning perceptions and experiences, again, keep in mind that this is another of the. So this is of a subgroup. This is of students who reported any remote learning in the 2020-2021 school year. So the school year before the one they are in now. So we asked students, during this school year, did you attend classes online all year, online most of the year, et cetera? Students who marked that they learned in person at school all year were not even given these questions. So they didn't even see them due to the skip logic we have built in. So we're only looking at those kids. Likewise, these don't reflect a school reported. This is all student self-report. So let's say hypothetically you have a district where your kids were in learning in the school building all year that school year. You're lucky enough to be learning in the building all year that school year. However, you have 10 new students in the district that actually came in from districts where they were remote learning. Those students are likely going to say they were remote learning because they're honest and great kids, and they're going to tell you their experiences. So keep that in mind, that this is student self-report based on wherever they were learning in the last school year. So that's a good thing to keep in mind. When it comes to these, we asked individually. So for each of these items, we asked students to respond with a big yes, a little no, and a big no, which students are very familiar with. And students, and we roll these up. So we report, for example, students who missed spending time at school, learning with other students in person. We rolled together big yes, little yes. We rolled together big no, little no. We do have a mixture of kind of things that might be more positive versus more negative. And so we kept the same color convention. So for example, here, students staying focused while learning online. A little more students more likely to say big no, little no, versus big yes, little yes. Students who felt that their learning actually improved when classes were taught online. Again, we have big yes, little yes versus big no, little no. So just keep in mind, again, if you're not quite sure what you're looking at, just look at the text. It will help you out. And just go slow. Take your time to go slow, talk with others about the data, and really dive in as well as you can. That is it. At the end, I'll answer any questions you have, but for now, I will stop my screen share and turn the time over to Dr. Malakovic to go through data interpretation and application.
Thank you, Mary. Hi, everyone. I am Dana Malakovic. I'm the mental wellness and trauma specialist with the Department of Education. I am so excited to be here today talking about this because I am beyond excited about this report. I'm going to ask Sophia just to share the screen for my last two slides. One of the things that we really have been looking at PDE is how do we use data? How do we help you use data? How do we look at it as a school system? And I'm going to put in the chat before I forget, the accelerated learning through an integrated system of support. One of the things that those of you who know me are going to get tired of hearing me say, and those of you who don't know me will hear it for the first time, is that I'm not asking you to do something new. I absolutely am not saying we need to start over, use this data in a new way, come up with a new program. I am a huge proponent of how do we integrate everything together? How do we work smarter? How do we use our data to inform our decisions? So when we think about this and we think about what the last year, almost 2 years at this point, looks like for our students, for our staff, for our school community, I really want to encourage you to use this preliminary report to look at overall. When you're setting the direction, when we come into this school year with the idea that our students have experienced significant loss, that they've experienced adverse childhood experiences in their home, which this preliminary report does touch on. When we think about increases in mental health, when we think about increases in suicidality, we want to use this data to say, is our perception of what we think occurred in the last year the reality from our students' perspective? So when we're doing that, we're really able to put universal programs in place. We want to use this data when we look at on the screen the cycle of school improvement and we think about how we integrate everything together. This data really provides the setting, the direction, and assessing the need. It really allows us to take what we have in place in our school system and say, okay, how do we use what we know now How does it align with what we have been doing? What do we need to tweak to be able to say, okay, we're missing some mental health markers that we weren't aware that were there. Okay, let's talk about, do we need more social emotional planning? We're really putting a huge focus on maybe getting back into the classroom, but our students are reporting they feel really connected to their staff. So that isn't as much of an area that we need to focus on. We're already doing a really good job of that. This data allows you to really take a look at what is there and how do you continue to use the plans you have, implement them, monitor them, and make small changes to adjust the course. Sophia, if you go to the next slide. The preliminary report provides some amazing data that is specifically tied to COVID. And we know that not everyone is going to get the data because this is for online and it isn't the full data set. As Mary has noted several times, that will come in April and it is very much Christmas-like. But that doesn't mean you don't have data. We know that the last few years have been unique. But we do have data from 2019. So if we remember back to our risk and our protective factors, we want to think about what are the risk factors that are being highlighted in this preliminary report? How do they align with what was there before? Are we seeing shifts that are making us think about changing the plan that we have in place? Or is it just what we had already been focusing on and now we know that we're kind of on the same path, and that COVID did not impact the community as much as we had previously thought? And then we want to think about protective factors as well. I love the fact that this report has the connectedness in place, because we do want to remember that that connectedness with adults is a huge protective factor for youth. So if they're feeling safe at school, they feel connected, they feel like they're being listened to, these are areas to continue to strengthen while we think about the risk factors. I want to highlight again, Mary had talked about all of the supports that are available to be able to look at your data, and supports are also available through PDE and the intermediate units as well, as we think about how we align all the work that is being done to be able to support our staff and our students. I'm going to pause. We only have a few more minutes left. I want to make sure we leave time for some questions and answers. So we're going to invite you to pop your questions into the question and answer box or put them into the chat.
I see you've gotten a number of questions so far. Kelsey, I saw you've been responding. Do we want to read those out loud or just direct people to the Q&A?
I think most of them have been answered. One person asked if the recording is going to be shared, and yes, we will be sending that recording out to you, so you'll be able to see it and share it with your teams. Another question from Becky is there any county level reporting available? Mary, if you want to jump on that one.
We are planning to provide or create county level reports. Our goal is we can't create those until everybody's done. So as soon as the data is closed down for every participating district, we're going to get started on those with the goal of releasing those in January. With the caveat, again, these are only online surveys. These exclude paper surveys. We have tossed around the idea of creating a state level preliminary report as well, also with the caveat that we're missing a good chunk of districts and schools that participated in paper. So we're not really quite sure about how that would be released or to whom and to what sort of words of caution that we have about that. Also, likewise, it's tricky to create a state preliminary report because the state data are actually weighted. So the state level data we present in our profile reports have been weighted and are based on a sample. So it's definitely going to be our least apples to apples comparison that we're going to have. So, but we will be creating county reports. Look for those in January, and yeah.
Yeah, Mary, do you want to talk about who has access? They are going directly to the superintendents, but who else would have access?
Yes. Superintendents, of course, get direct access. We are hopeful that we have the most current superintendent listed. We will be carefully tracking the emails that go out. When we get bounce backs, we record those, and then we do our best to kind of, as quickly as possible, find the correct email address and send it out. So superintendents will get theirs first. Our second email will go out to survey coordinators. Superintendents, in the agreement form, we ask them, or we kind of told them, okay, survey coordinators typically get the report. Do you not want your survey coordinator to get the report? So if you are a district where the superintendent clicks that box, you will not get the report automatically, but an overwhelming majority of superintendents already authorized survey coordinators to get it. The third email will go out to what we call additional authorized data users. And those are, we gave superintendents an open text field in which they could report anybody else who they trusted with their data, who they wanted to get their data automatically. That could be an assistant superintendent. It could be a principal. It could be, their lead the testing coordinator. It could be somebody in the community. It could be a prevention individual in the community. So if you are on that special list, you will get your the data next. If you're on this and you find you don't get any emails by the end of our working day, we're on Mountain Time. Just reach out tomorrow and we can see if it was a mistake, or if you're just not an authorized data user, in which case, ultimately, we encourage superintendents to share their link with whomever they so choose. So you could definitely just reach out to your superintendent and just say, I would love to see these data. Here's what we plan to do with them. Would you be willing to forward that email to me? And they're welcome to do that. The password they give them will work on any report.
Yeah, we've done a lot of work around that, encouraging our districts to look for partnerships. You saw up at the beginning of the report description to reach out to your county SCAs, single county authorities, or Epicenter. We've also encouraged a lot of our school partners that there are a lot of coalitions, a lot of nonprofits that really like to analyze data and identify programming or approaches that can assist them. The whole concept of PAYS is that it's a holistic view of our kids' lives. It's not a reflection on the school. It takes everyone in the community, the family, the friends of kids to really make a positive impact. So we would encourage you to reach out to your superintendent. And as Mary said, let them know, how you'd use the data. It's not a matter of splashing it all over, look for embarrassing things. This is about an early chance for us to assist our kids rather than data coming out in April. That's why we went this route. We're very excited that this is here. Mary and Kelsey and their team put on an unbelievable amount of hours to get this ready and out the door before the holidays. So my thanks to them immensely. I think we've got that. There was a question around the county reports. Those will be posted on the PAYS website. I still need to coordinate that with Mary and her team, as well as my IT folks at PCCD. But www.pays.pa.gov. Then click on 2021. That's where you'll find the county reports once they're all done. But as Mary said, we still are having some of the online data being finalized now. We need to process it, have the reports. Also, as Mary indicated, we will look at the universal data at the state level. We're planning to use that for some of our decision-making processes around funding in 2022. But because it is so different than what the final report is going to reflect, because it will not be a sample, we likely will not post that report online. We have some internal discussions with our PAYS team and especially our principal investigator around survey validity and difficulties with comparison. So just flipping through to see if there's any other questions. Did we miss anyone's questions? I don't think we did.
Anybody would like to speak up too, you can raise your hand and I can unmute you.
All right, if you do have questions after the webinar is over, there is that link again. Sophia, could you post the PACE question link in the chat? So if you think of something, later on, or once you get the chance to look through the report, please use that link. And we'll be happy to get back to you. Not sure how widespread the demand is going to be with questions, so please bear with us if you don't get an immediate response, but we will respond to all the questions that do come in through that link.
We see a question about when the list of participating schools updated on the PAYS website page. Jeff, is that may be a question for you? Is that posted just that Airtable, or is that like a static table?
No, that's just the Airtable. There's a link on the 2021 PAYS site that Buck Harrison has been updating with not just the schools that have registered, but the schools who have begun the survey process and the schools completed it as well. So that is your best go-to link. As I mentioned, we still have some stragglers. I had one yesterday where they said we just found a box of surveys and didn't administer them. Are we too late? So we're working with everyone to make sure the data gets in on it. And we, as Dana mentioned, we view this survey as extremely valuable at every level, from the state to the school district to the county, down to individual coalitions. So we are so happy that so many of our LEAs participate and also find it valuable. We're here to help support you in any way that we can. We'll continue moving forward.
Can I just make a quick question or quick comment, Jeff, as I'm reading some of the comments. I would say that I would just encourage you to develop those partnerships with your school districts in your area. I know that schools and superintendents are extremely overwhelmed right now. So reaching out to them, offering to help, partnering, we really are encouraging all of our districts, whether they're participating in the PAYS or not, as a department, to really focus on relationships and community building relationships. So we understand we can't do this alone. As Jeff said, this is a family, community, school effort, and this data really provides us with information on how to tie those relationships together. So please just feel free to keep reaching out to your superintendents, reaching out to your schools, and offering to partner, and baby steps, meeting them where they are, so we can go where we want to go.
Yeah, and we will be looking in the future to highlight how those partnerships can be built. Sophia, you want to move the thank you very much, appreciate it. So we do have kind of a tentative schedule coming up. As you recall, this is the first Wednesday webinar series, so these are the scheduled dates that we have planned so far. The link that Sophia provided, it will help us kind of guide the webinars. What is of the most interest to the greatest number of people, the greatest in different areas, be it the local coalitions versus a school district versus drug and alcohol agencies, whatever the case may be. But in January, we figured everyone's just coming right back to meeting for the school year after the long winter break. So we're going to kind of have just an open Q&A. That's going to be going through, giving people a chance to have look through the webinar. Do they have questions? Do they have other questions about who to partner with, whatever the case may be. February 2nd, working together as teams to help make data-driven decisions. Using data to decide where limited resources go is the best method. How do we engage more people? Different sectors, how is data used by different sectors? We have the PAYS guide. If you're not familiar with that, you can view that on the EPIS website, www.epis.psu.edu. That is an amazing resource that'll walk you through this whole process of looking at your report, through partnering, through analyzing it, through using it to take action. We will likely be making some minor updates to that over the course of the next 6 months. May 4th will be after that April 30th due date. So it'll be Christmas Day, and we'll be looking through our local profile report, kind of taking you through that like we did with the special report today. And then June 1st, I think Mary kind of hinted at this, but we have what we're calling a cross-tab analysis capability at the district level. That has been available at the county and state level for the last probably 4 or 5 administrations. We are now going to provide that at the district level. So if you want to see the percent of your 12th grade students who reported using marijuana and also reported being depressed, you could do those sorts of analysis with your data. We are going to require a training for that. More information will be coming out on that, but we want people to understand how to manipulate the data, how to understand that, rather than just letting people jump to conclusions and kind of misrepresent exactly what the data is telling us. So look for more information on that in 2022, but we're real excited with that. And again, we're looking for other ideas. One of the ideas that we're kind of kicking around for the fall, probably in September, is how do you engage your students? How do you develop different types of curriculum lesson plans that can have our students delve into the data and let them tell us what they're seeing? So it's not just the adults doing this analysis, not just the administrators or coalition leaders or other folks, but the kids that actually took the survey, what are they seeing that their peers responded, and how would they recommend taking action on that?